We're back. We're here with Mica Soellner from the Washington Times again. Mica, thanks for joining us. You've been
Thanks for having
following
me.
you've been following the House leadership race. All sorts of things going. Kevin McCarthy, heir apparent for the Republicans to be Speaker. Does he actually have the votes here?
So as of right now, it doesn't look like Kevin McCarthy has the 218 votes that he needs to secure the speakership. There's five Republicans that have come out as hard nose against him. Further to the right, Freedom Caucus members. And, what they're really looking for is his bid that he will decentralize power from leadership. And also it's a result of kind of the midterm results that, were unexpectedly worse, although Republicans did take the majority, but by a very narrow margin.
Yeah, so that slim majority is going to make it really hard for Republicans to actually, legislate and govern. We're already seeing it, seeing as McCarthy he can't really afford to lose that many people to get his majority to be Speaker. But what are some of the things that the House Freedom Caucus is kind of pushing for here? There are obviously some of the holdouts who are preventing McCarthy from getting his majority to be Speaker, but it seems like they're pushing for a lot of different rules changes to how congressional leadership would actually operate, things that would make it more transparent, and some more checks and balances. What are they kind of pushing for there?
Yeah, so we're definitely seeing a big push to elevate power for more rank and file members. I think that's the big takeaway, and part of that includes, allowing more members on the House Steering Committee, which allows people on certain committee assignments, and getting the entire conference to vote for people who can sit on the Rules Committee. Right now, it's currently just the Speaker who can do that. Other proposals include a ban on earmarks.
Mm-hmm.
And various aspects, but I think the vast majority is just being able to give the whole conference a voice and not just people at the top. And we're also seeing this kind of as a result of more fiscal responsibility, wanting to see spending bills be put forward before other legislation is taken up. So these are some of the concessions that Mr. McCarthy would have to consider to have the security of the votes.
Mm-hmm. And I saw another one that was they're asking for bills to be, actually have the text of bills at least 72 hours before they're voted on. We've seen this time and time again in the past couple of years where the bill gets put out, the staff have no time to read it, the members no time to read it, and the vote's in the middle of the night. I mean, it sounds like a pretty common sense thing that you would want for, the top legislature in the United States, Congress. Do you think there's actually a chance that these things make it through and that, McCarthy might say, okay, yeah, you can have these things if I get your votes for Speaker?
He's definitely going to have to make some concessions. We're unsure, how much, and that's one thing that the Republicans are debating right now. But it looks like, there's going to be more opportunities for, more members to at least sit on the steering committee. I think that's one of the compromises that's been made. The transparency efforts are going to be interesting to look at in terms of, what you mentioned. And I think that's been a long push, given that it's been, decades that the leadership has really had, the central power. I think essentially if, more normal rank and file members are able to kind of achieve these things, then it'll ultimately give power more down to the electorate and the people who, elected these people to represent them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what a lot of these things they're asking really are for is if especially the House of Representatives, those are our closest link to what the, to what Congress is deciding on. We're electing these people. And if the rank and file members don't actually have a say in the process, what does that mean for the American voter? But if McCarthy ends up not being Speaker in that kind of scenario, are there any kind of compromise candidates we could be looking at here? Who are some of the options that are out there that have a chance at this?
I think that's the big question is there's really no viable alternative right now to Kevin McCarthy. I mean, we saw Andy Biggs try to challenge him and he only got, 31 votes of support from members. A lot of the people opposed to McCarthy have floated Jim Jordan, but he's made it very clear that he doesn't want to do that. And he wants to chair the Judiciary Committee next year. So I think that's the problem. There is you can defect from McCarthy, but there's really no alternative option to him right now. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing. Not only him vocalize, but others in saying that if you put up this fight, then it might even give power to the Democrats. At least that's what leadership and McCarthy allies have been saying.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that threat yesterday saying that if you don't support me, there's going to be a Dem speaker. But I mean, I don't know. I don't see enough Republicans actually voting for a Democrat there. But speaking of Dems, they're having their leadership elections as well. What's happening here?
Yeah, so the Democratic leadership elections are a little bit more secure, I'd say, for a pathway for Hakeem Jeffries to succeed to the top spot for the caucus. Catherine Clark as whip, and then we're seeing Pete Aguilar take over Jeffries' current spot as caucus chairman. And we're seeing a little bit more contention in the kind of the lower levels right now. We just saw David Cicilline launch a bid against Jim Clyburn, which is significant. And Clyburn was the only senior, member that was staying on, kind of in the leadership team. So, we'll see that. But I think, overall, that one's going a little bit more smoother. It seems like there's a lot more consensus.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's what I've noticed. Also, it's easier when you're in the minority. It's not as much of pressure because you're not going to actually be legislating on things here. But Nancy Pelosi obviously is not. She's taken a step back here. She's still a member of Congress. Is she planning on sticking around? A lot of people have asked me this. What's she kind of going to do here? Is she going to step down in the middle of her term, as just as Congresswoman from California? Where does she go from here?
Yeah, so I think that's the big question and the speculation around, Pelosi's future, and she'll have to move back to her regular congressional office. Who knows how often she's around that now or during her time as speaker. She's gonna still play a role as an advisory role, for the new leadership. I asked a few Democratic members, Jamie Raskin said she's a very hands-off approach. So until someone gives her a call, she's probably going to, not be that involved. So we'll see how long that she wants to stay, and then what that lineup is going to look like for her seat too, because people have already floated maybe her daughter as a successor to her. So that's going to be a very interesting race as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, she's been such an effective fundraiser for Democrats for years. You'd think that she would maybe stay in that kind of role, even if she's not actually in Congress. Just helping out in fundraising, doing things on the on the side.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see her continue to be a power player in Democratic politics, whether that's fundraising or, being able to stump for candidates at events. But I think she will continue to be a very central figure for the party.
Mm-hmm. And I guess final question here is, how long is this going to go on with Republicans trying to figure out who the next speaker is going to be? Aren't elections in January when they all with the new Congress? How's that work?
Yeah. So the election will be in January, and I think they're really trying to scramble here and figure out what they want to do before the holidays. But McCarthy has made it clear that he is willing to take the fight on the floor. Although he's indicated that it's going to be a very negative thing if he has to do that. But we're just gonna have to wait and see, and it could be a very interesting new year ahead. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just we're gonna have to see. But in all likelihood. His path is a little, blurry right now, I guess, but it seems like he's going to be the most likely leader of the GOP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, time will tell if Republicans can actually govern with this new majority. But Mica, thanks for coming on. Great to have you as always.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.